In Shadows of Redemption, Kendra Martinez, a humble yet powerful black CEO of Metropulse Technologies, confronts escalating racial harassment and systemic corruption in Willow Creek, targeted by the vindictive Darius Cole and his associates, who use hate and violence to intimidate community leaders. Kendra faces betrayal from within the police force, notably Officer Daniels. The story exposes pervasive racism through overt slurs, intimidation tactics, and biased authority figures undermining justice. As tensions rise, Kendra's unwavering resolve to protect her community and dismantle the entrenched prejudice sets the stage for a fierce battle against hate and corruption. The early morning mist hovered over the city like a ghostly veil, softening the harsh lines of skyscrapers and muffling the cacophony of urban life. Streetlights flickered on, casting long, wavering shadows on the deserted sidewalks of Willow Creek Park. The scent of dew-laden grass mingled with the faint aroma of brewing coffee from a nearby vendor, creating an atmosphere of serene solitude. Evelyn Martinez sat alone on a bench beneath an old oak tree, its sprawling branches whispering secrets with each gentle breeze. At 68, her steps were slower, her movements deliberate, yet her eyes sparkled with an indomitable spirit. Today marked the 10th anniversary of her husband's passing, a day she dedicated to reflection and healing. Clutching a worn photograph in her hands, she gazed at the serene pond before her, where ducks glided effortlessly across the glassy surface. Across the park, the rhythmic thud of basketballs echoed from the court, a stark contrast to the stillness surrounding Evelyn. She adjusted her silver-framed glasses, her fingers tracing the edges of the photograph. It was a picture of her and Daniel, taken on a vibrant summer day much like today. Her heart ached with memories, yet a sense of purpose steadied her resolve. Unbeknownst to Evelyn, a group of individuals lurked in the periphery of the park, their presence marked by furtive glances and tense body language. They moved with calculated intent, their conversations hushed, but filled with malice. Among them was Marcus Reed, a man whose veneer of civility barely concealed his deep-seated resentment and bitterness. His companion, Jace Thompson, tall and imposing, shared the same disdainful outlook, while Liam Brooks, younger and more impulsive, fidgeted nervously, betraying his inner turmoil. As Evelyn closed her eyes, savoring the tranquility, Marcus stepped forward, his stride confident and unyielding. The group's approach disrupted the morning's peace, their arrival sending a ripple through the still air. Marcus's eyes fixed on Evelyn, a smirk playing on his lips as he broke the silence. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" Marcus called out, his voice carrying a false warmth that failed to mask the underlying threat. Evelyn opened her eyes slowly, meeting his gaze with a calm that belied the unease settling in her stomach. "It is a perfect day for reflection," she replied, her voice steady yet tinged with caution. Jace chuckled, exchanging a glance with Liam before circling closer. "You know, it's moments like these that really make you think about what's important," he remarked, his tone ambiguous. Evelyn nodded thoughtfully, her fingers tightening around the photograph. "Indeed, it's essential to cherish the memories that shape us." Liam shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between Evelyn and the path behind her. "Sometimes, though, memories can be a burden," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Marcus's smirk widened as he took a step forward, his presence dominating the space around them. "Oh, we know all about burdens, don't we, Jace?" The tension mounted, the once peaceful park now a stage for an impending confrontation. Evelyn sensed the shift, her instincts honed by years of facing adversity kicking in. She stood slowly, the photograph still clutched in her hand, her posture resolute. "We all carry burdens," she stated firmly, meeting Marcus's gaze without flinching. "But it's how we handle them that defines us." Marcus's eyes hardened, his facade cracking as frustration edged into his demeanor. "You think you're better than us? That you can just stand there and preach about handling burdens?" Before Evelyn could respond, a sudden noise from the park entrance diverted everyone's attention. The unmistakable sound of hurried footsteps approached, accompanied by muffled shouts and the distant wail of a siren. Marcus glanced towards the source of the commotion, his anger momentarily subdued by the unexpected interruption. Evelyn seized the moment, her voice calm but commanding. "Perhaps it's time to leave, gentlemen. There are others here who deserve the peace you disrupt." Marcus hesitated, his gaze flickering between Evelyn and the approaching figure. The tension remained palpable, each second stretching into an eternity as the three men weighed their options. Finally, with a begrudging nod, Marcus signaled to his companions. "Maybe you're right," he conceded, though the hostility in his eyes remained. "We didn't come here for a peaceful chat." As the group retreated, their steps heavy with unresolved anger, Evelyn watched them go, her heart still racing, but her resolve unshaken. The arrival of the newcomer had diffused the immediate threat, yet the underlying issues lingered, promising that the shadows of redemption were far from over. Evelyn returned to her bench, the photograph now resting gently in her lap. She took a deep breath, the morning's events reaffirming her commitment to fostering understanding and confronting hate wherever it surfaced. The sun broke through the remaining mist, casting a golden glow over Willow Creek Park, symbolizing hope amidst lingering shadows. Later that morning, the city was already bustling with its usual rhythm. Towering buildings housed some of the nation's most influential corporations, their glass facades reflecting the aspirations and struggles of those who worked within. Among them was Kendra Washington, the CEO of Metropulse Technologies, a leading firm in innovative software solutions. At 45, Kendra had built her empire from the ground up, navigating the complexities of the corporate world with grace and tenacity. Despite her status, Kendra maintained a surprisingly modest lifestyle. Her home in Willow Creek was a blend of modern elegance and comfortable simplicity, adorned with family photos and mementos from her travels. She believed in the importance of community, often volunteering at local shelters and mentoring young entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds. Her humility was a stark contrast to her powerful position, making her a beloved figure both within and outside her company. This particular Saturday, Kendra decided to take a rare day off to visit her favorite local diner, Sunny Side Up, known for its hearty breakfasts and welcoming atmosphere. As she walked through the bustling streets, she appreciated the small-town charm that Willow Creek retained despite its growth. The social climate, however, was far from idyllic. Racial tensions simmered beneath the surface, a reflection of the broader societal struggles that plagued the nation. Kendra was no stranger to these challenges, often finding herself at the forefront of initiatives aimed at promoting equality and justice. Entering Sunny Side Up, Kendra was greeted by the familiar sight of the bustling counter and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The diner was a hub of activity, with locals exchanging stories and laughter over steaming mugs and sizzling plates. She made her way to a corner booth, her presence barely causing a ripple among the regular patrons. Here, her authority and identity could be easily overlooked, allowing her to observe without drawing unnecessary attention. As she settled into her seat, the waitress approached with a warm smile. "Good morning, Kendra, the usual?" she asked, setting down a steaming cup of black coffee. Kendra returned the smile, her eyes scanning the room thoughtfully. "Yes, thank you, Maya. And maybe something different today. How about those blueberry pancakes you recommended last time?" Maya nodded, jotting down the order. "Coming right up." Kendra's phone buzzed on the table, pulling her attention momentarily away. She glanced at the screen, seeing a message from her assistant reminding her of the upcoming board meeting. Sighing softly, she pushed the phone aside, deciding to savor the rare moment of tranquility. As she waited for her meal, Kendra couldn't help but notice a group of men seated at a nearby table. They were out of place in the casual setting, their demeanor exuding a subtle tension that seemed out of sync with the diner's relaxed atmosphere. One of them, a tall man with a chiseled jaw and piercing eyes, glanced around the room before fixing his gaze on Kendra. It was Darius Cole, a former business rival whose fall from grace had been as swift as it was public. His companions, Ethan Brooks and Victor Lane, mirrored his agitated energy, their presence hinting at underlying motives. Kendra recognized them immediately, recalling the heated exchanges and cutthroat tactics that had defined their past interactions. Darius had always been the ambitious one, willing to cross ethical lines to achieve his goals. Ethan, his right-hand man, was the enforcer, handling the more unsavory aspects of their endeavors. Victor, younger and less experienced, seemed uneasy in their company, his nervous glances betraying his discomfort. As Darius watched Kendra, a flicker of recognition passed through his eyes, quickly masked by a forced casualness. He leaned toward Ethan, whispering something that caused the other men to nod in agreement. The tension in their conversation was palpable. a silent storm brewing beneath the surface. Kendra sensed the shift, her instincts alerting her to potential conflict. She maintained her composure, her posture relaxed as she continued to enjoy her meal. The dynamics in the room were subtle, but significant, hinting at the complex web of relationships and unresolved tensions that could ignite at any moment. Maya returned, placing a plate of fluffy pancakes and a side of fresh fruit in front of Kendra. "Here you go, Kendra, enjoy." "Thank you, Maya," Kendra replied, her gratitude genuine. She took a bite, savoring the sweet flavors that contrasted with the morning's earlier tension. As she ate, her eyes occasionally darted towards the group of men, her mind racing through possible scenarios. Darius's presence was unexpected, especially in a setting where their paths rarely crossed outside of professional arenas. She wondered what had brought him here, business or something more personal. Her thoughts were interrupted by the entrance of another man, someone she hadn't seen in years. Detective Malik Turner, a respected officer in the Willow Creek Police Department, approached her table with a purposeful stride. His uniform was impeccably pressed, and his demeanor exuded authority, tempered with approachability. "Good morning, Kendra," Malik greeted, pulling up a chair and sitting across from her. His presence was commanding yet friendly, a testament to his reputation in the community. "Malik." "It's been a while," Kendra responded warmly, her smile genuine. "How have you been?" Malik nodded, his expression serious. "I'm doing well, thanks. I wanted to talk to you about something important." Kendra's curiosity was piqued, sensing the gravity in his tone. She set down her fork, leaning forward slightly. "Of course, what's on your mind?" Malik glanced around the diner before lowering his voice. "It's about Darius Cole and his associates. We've had some troubling reports, and I believe you might have some insight." Kendra's eyes narrowed subtly, the mention of Darius sending a ripple through her thoughts. "Darius? What kind of reports are we talking about?" Malik sighed, his gaze meeting hers with a mix of urgency and concern. "There have been incidents of harassment and intimidation targeting local business owners and community leaders. Given your prominence and involvement in various initiatives, I wanted to see if you had any encounters or information that could help us." Kendra took a deep breath, her mind processing the implications. "I haven't had any direct dealings with Darius recently, but I do recall some unsettling interactions in the past." "Why the sudden interest now?" Malik leaned back, his expression earnest. "There have been a few incidents that suggest an escalation. It's not just business rivalry anymore. It feels personal, almost like they're targeting people based on their influence and position in the community." Kendra nodded slowly, her protective instincts kicking in. "I've always known Darius to be ruthless, but this sounds more organized. Have you identified any specific targets or patterns?" Malik tapped his fingers on the table thoughtfully. "We're still piecing things together, but there's a common thread of intimidation aimed at those who are vocal about community issues or who hold positions of authority. It's as if they're trying to silence dissent and establish dominance." Ethan and Victor exchanged uneasy glances across the room, their earlier confidence now marred by Malik's probing questions. Darius, however, maintained his composure, though the slight tightening around his eyes hinted at underlying tension. Kendra's mind raced, considering the broader implications. "I appreciate you reaching out, Malik. I'll keep an eye out and let you know if I notice anything out of the ordinary. In the meantime, if there's anything specific you need from me, don't hesitate to ask." Malik gave a grateful nod. "Thank you, Kendra. Your support is invaluable. If you do come across anything, even if it seems insignificant, please inform me immediately." As Malik stood to leave, Kendra returned her attention to her meal, her thoughts heavy with the new information. The presence of Darius and his associates in the same space, coupled with Malik's concerns, painted a picture of escalating tensions that could threaten the fragile peace of Willow Creek. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a reminder about her afternoon meeting. She sighed, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "I suppose it's time to get back to reality," she mused, picking up her fork to take another bite. Just then, the door to the diner swung open with a jingle, and a young woman rushed in, her face flushed with exertion. She scanned the room frantically before spotting Kendra and Malik. "Detective Turner," she called out, Breathless as she hurried over, Malik rose to greet her, while Kendra watched with mild concern. "What's the matter, Rachel?" he asked, ushering her to a seat. Rachel, a local community organizer, sank into the chair, clutching a stack of papers in her hands. "It's my sister, Maya." "She's missing," she said, her voice trembling with fear. "She didn't come home last night, and I haven't heard from her since." Kendra felt a pang of sympathy, her own experiences with loss making her acutely aware of Rachel's distress. "When was the last time you saw her?" she inquired gently. Rachel glanced between Malik and Kendra, her eyes wide with anxiety. "She left for work around 8 p.m. and never came back. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I'm worried something's happened to her." Malik leaned forward, his expression focused. "Have you contacted anyone else, friends? Neighbors?" Rachel shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "No, I didn't want to trouble anyone until I was sure she was really missing." Kendra placed a comforting hand on Rachel's shoulder. "We'll do everything we can to find her. Can you think of anyone who might want to harm her, or any reason she might not have come home?" Rachel hesitated, biting her lower lip. "Not that I know of. Maya's always been a reliable person. She's not the type to just disappear without a reason." Malik nodded, taking notes. "We'll start by checking her workplace and any places she frequents. Kendra, since you know the area well, could you help us by spreading the word and keeping an eye out for any information?" Kendra nodded thoughtfully. "Of course, I'll reach out to my contacts and see if anyone has seen or heard anything unusual." As Rachel left to gather her things, Kendra felt the layers of the morning's events intertwining, hinting at a deeper, more intricate web of conflicts and challenges. The peaceful facade of Willow Creek was being tested, and she found herself at the nexus of personal and communal struggles. Finishing her pancakes, Kendra stood up, her mind already strategizing the steps ahead. She exchanged a knowing glance with Malik before exiting the diner, the crisp morning air filling her lungs as she made her way back to her office. The weight of her dual roles, as a compassionate community leader and a formidable businesswoman, pressed upon her, yet she carried it with unwavering grace. As she walked through the park towards her home, the earlier confrontation with Marcus lingered in her mind. His group's hostility was a stark reminder of the societal challenges she continuously faced, despite her status and influence. The systemic prejudices and biases were not easily dismantled, and the recent rise in aggressive actions against community leaders only underscored the urgency of her mission. Reaching her home, Kendra paused at the entrance, the setting sun casting a warm glow over the well-manicured garden. She took a deep breath, grounding herself before stepping inside. The transition from the public eye to the private sanctuary was always jarring, yet necessary. Inside, the calm of her home offered a brief respite from the external turmoil. Her study was a blend of professional efficiency and personal comfort. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with volumes on technology, leadership, and social justice. A large desk dominated the room, cluttered with papers, reports, and personal mementos. Kendra settled into her chair, pulling out her laptop to begin reviewing the day's developments. As she delved into the case of Maya's disappearance, her thoughts drifted back to the confrontation in the park. Marcus and his group's presence was no coincidence. Their aggressive demeanor hinted at something more sinister, a brewing conflict that could threaten not only her, but the entire community she sought to uplift. Kendra's phone buzzed again, this time with a call from her assistant, Lila Simmons. She answered, her tone professional, yet warm. "Good evening, Kendra." "Lila, any updates on Maya's case?" Kendra asked, her voice steady despite the swirling concerns. Lila hesitated before responding. "We've reached out to her co-workers and neighbors, but so far, no concrete leads. However, one of her closest friends mentioned that Maya had been acting differently lately, more withdrawn. She thought it was just stress, but now I'm not so sure." Kendra absorbed the information, her mind racing through possible scenarios. "All right, keep me posted on anything new. In the meantime, I'll continue to look into any connections that might tie this to the incidents involving Darius and his group." Lila paused, her voice softening. "Be careful, Kendra, these guys are dangerous." Kendra offered a reassuring smile. "I know, but I can't turn a blind eye, especially when people are suffering." As she hung up, Kendra's resolve solidified. The threads of Maya's disappearance and the escalating tensions with Marcus and his group were beginning to intertwine, forming a complex tapestry of challenges that required her unique position and unwavering determination to navigate. The night deepened, the city lights twinkling against the dark sky, reflecting the duality of progress and persistent struggle. Kendra sat back, her thoughts a whirlwind of strategies and plans, aware that the path ahead was fraught with obstacles, but driven by a steadfast commitment to justice and community. In the quiet of her study, surrounded by symbols of her achievements and the silent echoes of her past, Kendra Martinez prepared herself for the battles yet to come. The shadows of redemption loomed on the horizon, promising both conflict and the potential for profound change. The early morning mist had long dispersed, giving way to the vibrant energy of Willow Creek. As the day progressed, Kendra Martinez navigated the polished corridors of MetroPulse Technologies with purposeful strides, her presence commanding yet unassuming. Her office, perched on the top floor with panoramic views of the city, was a sanctuary of efficiency and innovation. Yet, beneath the surface of success lay the undercurrents of societal tensions that Kendra tirelessly worked to address. Today, however, her focus was divided. The disappearance of Maya weighed heavily on her mind, intertwining with the troubling reports about Darius Cole and his associates. As she settled into her desk, her assistant, Lila Simmons, approached with a stack of new emails. "Morning, Kendra. Here are the updates you requested on Maya's case," Lila said, placing the papers neatly beside her. "We've reached out to several friends and co-workers. Nothing concrete yet, but there are some leads we can follow up on." Kendra nodded, her eyes scanning the documents briefly. "Thank you, Lila. Keep me posted on any developments." Lila offered a reassuring smile before retreating to her own workspace, leaving Kendra to contemplate the intertwining threads of her professional responsibilities and personal quest for justice. As she turned back to her computer, a notification popped up on her screen, a reminder for her afternoon board meeting. She sighed softly, the weight of leadership pressing down on her. Balancing her role as CEO with her commitment to social justice was no small feat, but Kendra thrived on the challenge. Just then, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. The caller ID displayed Detective Malik Turner. "Good afternoon, Kendra," Malik greeted, his tone brisk yet respectful. "I wanted to give you an update on Maya's case." Kendra leaned back in her chair, steeling herself for potentially troubling news. "Go ahead, Malik. We've expanded our search parameters based on the leads you provided. We're collaborating with neighboring jurisdictions and increasing patrols in areas Maya was known to frequent. Additionally, we've received reports of suspicious activity near the Iron Tank Tavern, a place you mentioned earlier." Kendra's heart quickened. The Iron Tank Tavern was a known hangout for Darius Cole and his associates. "Anything specific we should be looking for?" "Not yet," Malik replied. "But we're treating it as a high-priority area. I wanted to keep you in the loop, given your connections and the potential implications of this case." "Understood. Please keep me informed of any significant developments," Kendra responded, her mind already racing through possible strategies to support the investigation without overstepping her professional boundaries. Before she could delve deeper, a colleague, Jordan Lee, approached her desk. Jordan was one of Kendra's trusted executives, known for his sharp intellect and unwavering loyalty. "Hey Kendra," Jordan began, his expression slightly uneasy. "I heard about Maya. I'm really sorry you're going through this." Kendra offered a sincere smile. "Thank you, Jordan. We're doing everything we can to help find her." Jordan hesitated, then leaned in slightly. "If there's anything you need, any resources I can allocate, don't hesitate to ask. We're all here for you." Kendra appreciated the gesture, her gratitude evident. "I'll keep that in mind, thanks." As Jordan left, Kendra couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The intertwining threads of Maya's disappearance and the escalating tensions with Darius Cole hinted at a convergence of personal and communal crises. Later that afternoon, the board meeting commenced in the expansive conference room. Executives filled the seats, their faces a mix of anticipation and concern. Kendra stood at the head of the table, her demeanor calm and authoritative. "Good afternoon, everyone," she began, her voice steady. "I'll get straight to the point. As you're aware, we're facing some challenges both within the company and in our community." She outlined the latest developments regarding Maya's disappearance and the troubling reports involving Darius Cole. The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation sinking in. We need to ensure that Metropulse continues to operate smoothly while also supporting our community initiatives, Kendra emphasized. I expect each of you to maintain professionalism and uphold our values, especially during these trying times. As the meeting concluded, Kendra felt the weight of her dual roles pressing heavily upon her shoulders. Exiting the conference room, she was met by Darius Cole himself, seated casually at the end of the hallway, a smug expression on his face. "Ms. Martinez," Darius greeted, his tone dripping with feigned cordiality. "Quite the gathering, isn't it?" Kendra paused, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "Mr. Cole, I didn't expect to see you here." Darius chuckled, leaning against the wall with an air of superiority. "Always here, making sure things run smoothly? How's business?" Kendra maintained her composure, meeting his gaze without wavering. "Business is thriving, thank you. I'm sure you've heard about the recent incidents in the community?" Darius's smirk faltered slightly, replaced by a mask of indifference. "A few bumps in the road, nothing we can't handle." Kendra sensed the underlying tension, recognizing the thinly veiled threat in his words. "I hope so. It's important for our community leaders to foster a safe and inclusive environment for everyone." Darius nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "Of course, that's something we can all agree on." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Kendra to ponder the implications of their encounter. The subtle hostility in his demeanor was unmistakable, a reminder that their professional interactions were fraught with unspoken animosity. As Kendra returned to her office, she was intercepted by a junior employee, Tasha Green, who looked visibly distressed. "Ms. Martinez, there's been an incident at the Metropulse downtown branch," Tasha reported, her voice shaky. "A group of men were harassing some of the staff and customers." Kendra's concern deepened. "Is anyone hurt? What exactly happened?" Tasha shook her head, trying to steady her nerves. "No physical injuries, but they were using racial slurs and threatening the employees. It was the third such incident this month." Kendra's jaw tightened, her mind racing with connections between these harassment reports and the broader pattern Malik had mentioned. Where were these incidents happening specifically? Any patterns or similarities? "They all occurred near the entrances of our branches, mainly in less affluent neighborhoods," Tasha explained. "It seems like they're targeting areas where we have a significant presence." Kendra nodded, her analytical mind already piecing together the implications. "Thank you, Tasha. I'll speak with Malik and our security team to ensure we're taking appropriate measures. Please file a detailed report and notify the affected branches." As Tasha hurried away, Kendra felt a familiar mix of frustration and determination. The systemic challenges and prejudices embedded within the community were becoming increasingly apparent, and the recent surge in harassment incidents was a clear sign that something needed to be done. Later that evening, Kendra sat in her study, the soft glow of the desk lamp casting a warm light over her workspace. She opened her laptop, pulling up the latest reports from Malik and the new incident at the downtown branch. The evidence was mounting, painting a disturbing picture of escalating racial tensions and targeted harassment. Her phone buzzed with another call from Malik. "Kendra, I need you to come down to the precinct. We have a new lead on Maya's case." Kendra's heart raced. "I'm on my way." Arriving at the precinct, Kendra was greeted by Malik, his expression serious. "We've traced Maya's last known location to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Our surveillance captured her entering alone around midnight." Kendra's mind raced. "Have we checked the warehouse yet?" Malik shook his head. "Not yet. We're preparing a team for the raid, but we need to ensure it's safe and coordinated. Given your connections, your input could be valuable." Kendra nodded, her resolve strengthening. "I'll assist in any way I can. Time is of the essence." As they discussed the logistics, a junior officer approached, her face pale. "Detective Turner, you need to see this." Malik and Kendra followed her to a small conference room, where another officer displayed a series of photos on the screen. The images showed Maya's personal belongings scattered near the warehouse, along with graffiti featuring racial slurs and threatening messages. Kendra felt a chill run down her spine. The hate-filled messages were unmistakable, echoing the patterns of harassment and intimidation she had been witnessing within Metropulse's branches. It was clear that the same group responsible for Maya's disappearance was also orchestrating these acts of terror within the community. "This is beyond simple harassment," Kendra stated, her voice firm. "These messages are a clear attempt to instill fear and exert control. We need to address this comprehensively." Malik nodded in agreement. "We're on it, but having you here adds weight to our efforts. Your influence can help rally the community and discourage further attacks." Kendra's eyes met Malik's, determination burning within them. "We need to expose them for what they are, and ensure they can't continue their campaign of hate. I'll mobilize my resources and see how we can support your investigation." As she left the precinct, Kendra couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing at the precipice of something much larger than herself. The systemic prejudices and biases were not just societal issues, but were now personal threats to her community and her life. Back at her office, Kendra convened an emergency meeting with her executive team. The atmosphere was tense, the gravity of the situation palpable. "We're dealing with more than just isolated incidents," Kendra began, her voice steady. "These acts are coordinated and targeted, aimed at destabilizing our community and our company. We need to take immediate action to protect our employees and support the ongoing investigation." One of her executives, David Nguyen, voiced a concern that mirrored the underlying tensions. "Kendra, this is getting dangerous. Darius and his group are powerful, and they have connections. We need to tread carefully." Kendra met David's gaze, her eyes unwavering. "I understand the risks, David, but we can't back down now. Our community looks to us for leadership and support. We need to show that we won't tolerate this behavior and that justice will prevail." Another executive, Lisa Thompson, raised a valid point. "But what about our business operations? The increased security measures, the potential for further harassment, it could impact our bottom line." Kendra sighed, acknowledging the concern. "I'm aware of the implications, Lisa. However, protecting our employees and ensuring their safety is paramount. We'll allocate additional resources to security and implement protocols to minimize risks. In the long run, maintaining a safe and inclusive environment will benefit us all." As the meeting progressed, Kendra's mind remained focused on the dual battles she was fighting, both within her company and in the broader community. The prejudice and biases she faced were not just external, but were now infiltrating her professional sphere, challenging her ability to maintain her company's success while advocating for justice. Later that night, Kendra returned home, the events of the day weighing heavily on her. She sat on her porch, the cool evening air a balm to her frazzled nerves. The garden lights cast a soft glow, illuminating the path leading to her front door. She took a deep breath, trying to find solace in the quietude. Her phone buzzed with a message from Malik. "Stay vigilant. We might have a break tomorrow." Kendra stared at the screen, her thoughts a whirlwind of strategies and concerns. The systemic challenges and prejudices she battled daily were now escalating into direct threats against her community and herself. She knew that confronting these issues required unwavering strength and resilience. As she pondered her next moves, a sense of determination settled over her. She couldn't allow fear to dictate her actions. The injustice she witnessed was too pervasive, too deeply rooted to be ignored. Kendra had built Metropulse on the principles of integrity and community support, and she was committed to upholding those values, no matter the personal cost. Just then, a shadow loomed at the edge of her porch light, and Kendra's heart skipped a beat. She turned slowly, her senses on high alert, to see Ethan Brooks approaching, his demeanor tense and guarded. "Kendra," he called out, his voice low, "we need to talk." Kendra's posture remained calm, but she could feel the underlying tension. "Ethan, what's going on?" Ethan hesitated, glancing nervously around the quiet street before stepping closer. "It's about the harassment incidents and Maya's disappearance. I have information that might help your investigation." Kendra's eyes narrowed slightly, cautious yet hopeful. "What kind of information?" Ethan looked around once more before leaning in, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't say here. Meet me at the Iron Tank Tavern tonight, alone, and be careful." Before Kendra could respond, Ethan turned and hurried away, his departure leaving her with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The Iron Tank Tavern was the very place Malik had identified as a hotspot for Darius and his associates. This encounter could be pivotal, but it also posed significant risks. Kendra stood up, her mind racing with possibilities. Accepting Ethan's offer could provide the breakthrough she desperately needed, but it also meant stepping into potentially dangerous territory. She weighed her options carefully, her commitment to justice driving her decision. As the night deepened, Kendra prepared herself for the meeting, donning a discreet outfit and ensuring her phone was fully charged. The Iron Tank Tavern was already buzzing with late-night patrons, the air thick with the smell of stale beer and the sounds of lively conversations. She entered the dimly lit establishment, her presence blending seamlessly with the crowd. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for Ethan amidst the sea of faces. The tension was palpable, each step towards the bar feeling heavier than the last. Finally, she spotted Ethan in a secluded corner, his expression troubled. He gestured for her to join him, and she approached cautiously, taking a seat across from him. "Kendra," Ethan began, his voice strained. "I knew you'd come." She leaned in, her voice low. "What have you found?" Ethan took a deep breath, his hands nervously clasped together. "It's bigger than just harassment. Darius and his group are planning something more sinister, something that could destabilize the entire community. They've been gathering support from influential figures who turn a blind eye to their activities." Kendra felt a surge of anger and urgency. "What exactly are they planning?" Ethan glanced around before continuing. "There's talk of a coordinated attack, targeting key community leaders and businesses to instill fear and chaos. Maya's disappearance is just the beginning. They're sending a message that they can operate without consequences." Kendra's mind raced, connecting the dots between the harassment incidents, Maya's disappearance, and the looming threat of a larger attack. "Do you have any evidence, anything concrete that can help us stop them before it's too late?" Ethan nodded, pulling out a small USB drive from his pocket. "I managed to intercept some communications between them. It's not complete, but it provides a starting point." Kendra reached for the USB, her fingers brushing against Ethan's. "This could be the breakthrough we need. We need to analyze this immediately and coordinate with Malik to disrupt their plans." Ethan looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope. "There's more, Kendra. I don't know how much longer they'll have time before they act. We need to move fast." Kendra felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders once more. The systemic prejudices and biases she had been combating were now manifesting in overt acts of violence and intimidation. She knew that stopping Darius and his group was not just about protecting her community, but also about dismantling the very structures that allowed such hate to thrive. "Thank you, Ethan," she said firmly. "Your courage in coming forward is commendable. We'll take it from here. Stay safe." As Ethan left the diner, Kendra couldn't help but feel the gravity of the situation pressing down on her. The initial conflicts were now escalating into a full-blown battle against entrenched prejudice and organized hate. She knew that maintaining her composure and professionalism was crucial, but the internal struggle between anger and calm was becoming increasingly intense. Returning to her office, Kendra immediately contacted Malik, arranging an urgent meeting to review the new evidence. The two of them pored over the intercepted communications, piecing together the plans and strategies of Darius and his associates. The scope of their operations was vast, and the timeline was tight. "We need to act quickly," Malik emphasized, pointing to the coordinates marked on the map. "They're targeting the upcoming community summit. If they go through with their plan, it could result in significant casualties and further destabilize our community." Kendra nodded, her determination unwavering. "We can't let that happen. I'll mobilize our security team and ensure that Metropulse is prepared to support law enforcement. We need to present this information to the authorities immediately." As they strategized, the systemic prejudices and biases within the community and institutions became glaringly apparent. Kendra realized that combating this threat required not only tactical measures, but also a concerted effort to address the underlying issues that allowed such hate to fester. The next day, Kendra attended a meeting with the local council and law enforcement, presenting the evidence she and Malik had gathered. Her calm and professional demeanor contrasted sharply with the simmering tensions in the room, where subtle microaggressions and overt acts of discrimination reared their ugly heads. One council member, Tom Richards, a man known for his conservative views, dismissed Kendra's concerns with a patronizing tone. "Ms. Martinez, while I appreciate your dedication, We need to ensure that our actions are justified and proportionate. We can't let fear dictate our responses." Kendra met his gaze steadily, refusing to be undermined. "Tom, this isn't about fear. It's about preventing violence and protecting our community. The evidence is clear, and we have a responsibility to act." Another officer, Sergeant Linda Hayes, interjected, her voice tinged with skepticism. "Kendra, we value your input, but we need to ensure that all protocols are strictly followed. We can't afford to make mistakes at this stage." Kendra felt the frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. "I understand the need for protocols, Sergeant Hayes, but time is of the essence. Delaying could have dire consequences." Tom Richards smirked, a subtle indication of his underlying biases. "We're all on the same side here, Ms. Martinez. Let's not let personal agendas cloud our judgment." Kendra's internal struggle intensified as she navigated the thinly veiled prejudices within the room. She remained composed, but the weight of their dismissive attitudes pressed heavily on her. The subtle microaggressions were as damaging as any overt act of discrimination, eroding the trust and collaboration needed to address the escalating threat. As the meeting progressed, the tension reached a boiling point when Darius Cole himself entered the room, flanked by his associates. His presence was commanding, his eyes locking onto Kendra with a mixture of contempt and challenge. "Ms. Martinez," Darius drawled, his voice laced with mockery, "always trying to play the hero, aren't you? Just remember, we're not going to back down." Kendra met his gaze with unwavering determination. "Your reign of intimidation ends now, Darius. We won't allow your hate to define our community." Darius laughed, a harsh sound that cut through the room's charged atmosphere. "You think you can stop us? You think your little company can make a difference? We're everywhere, and you're just one person trying to change the world." Kendra stood tall, her voice firm. "I'm not alone, Darius. We have the support of our community and law enforcement. Your actions won't go unnoticed or unpunished." The room fell silent as Darius's smirk faded, replaced by a flicker of genuine frustration. "We'll see about that," he retorted, before turning and leaving the room, his departure leaving a palpable void of tension. As the meeting adjourned, Kendra felt the weight of the moment settle upon her. The prejudices and biases she faced were not just obstacles, but active barriers that threatened to undermine her efforts. Yet, her commitment to justice and her community remained unshaken. Back in her office, Kendra reviewed the new evidence once more, her mind racing with strategies to thwart Darius's plans. The initial conflict had now evolved into a multifaceted battle against systemic prejudice and organized hate. She knew that maintaining her calm and professional demeanor was crucial, but the internal struggle between anger and composure was becoming more pronounced with each passing day. As the sun set over Willow Creek, casting long shadows across the city, Kendra Martinez stood resolute, ready to face the challenges ahead. The stakes had never been higher, and the path forward was fraught with tension and uncertainty. Yet, her unwavering determination to protect her community and dismantle the forces of hate propelled her forward, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test her resilience and redefine her legacy. The city had settled into a restless night, the streets of Willow Creek humming with an uneasy silence. Kendra Martinez stood outside her office building, the weight of the day's events pressing heavily upon her shoulders. The intercepted communications on the USB drive had revealed chilling plans: a coordinated attack targeting key community leaders during the upcoming Willow Creek Community Summit. The realization that Darius Cole and his associates were orchestrating something far more sinister than mere harassment ignited a fire within her. Kendra took a deep breath, her mind racing through the necessary steps to thwart the impending threat. She knew time was of the essence, and any delay could result in irreversible consequences. As she prepared to leave, her phone buzzed with an urgent message from Malik Turner. "Immediate action required. Meet at Metropulse HQ in 30 minutes." Without hesitation, Kendra hailed a ride and sped towards Metropulse headquarters. The night air was crisp, the city lights reflecting off the sleek surface of her car as she navigated through the labyrinthine streets. Upon arrival, she was greeted by Malik, his expression grim and focused. "Thank you for coming so quickly, Kendra," Malik began, ushering her into a secure conference room. The atmosphere was tense, the room filled with key members of the investigation team and Metropulse's security personnel. Kendra took her seat at the head of the table, her eyes scanning the faces of her allies and the few who had shown genuine concern. Among them was Mitchell Hayes, a junior analyst whose hesitation had gradually transformed into steadfast support, and Officer Daniels, a high-ranking member of the local police department known for his hardline stance on crime, but often clouded by implicit biases. Malik wasted no time. "We've confirmed that the Iron Tank Tavern is the next target. Darius and his group plan to disrupt the community summit by instigating chaos and violence. If they succeed, it could dismantle years of progress we've made." Kendra felt a surge of anger and urgency. "We need to neutralize this threat before it materializes. What's our plan?" Officer Daniels leaned forward, his tone authoritative, yet tinged with skepticism. "We've coordinated with local law enforcement to increase patrols and implement security measures at the summit venue. However, intelligence suggests that Darius has insiders within the community who could compromise our efforts." Mitchell raised a hand, his voice wavering slightly. "There's something else, Kendra. I cross-referenced the communication logs, and it appears there's a connection between Darius and some members of the police department. It's possible they're orchestrating distractions or even directly aiding his plans." Kendra's eyes narrowed, the realization of systemic corruption hitting her hard. "If that's true, we need to expose these individuals and ensure they can't interfere. But how do we proceed without alerting Darius that we're on to them?" Officer Daniels met her gaze, a flicker of doubt crossing his features. "It's risky, but we can conduct a discreet investigation. However, we'll need your support. Kendra, your influence and resources can help us gather the necessary evidence without tipping them off." Kendra nodded, her resolve unwavering despite the mounting challenges. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect our community and bring these corrupt elements to justice. Let's outline our next steps." As the team delved into strategic planning, the tension in the room was palpable. The stakes had never been higher, and the realization that corruption was lurking within the very institutions meant to uphold justice added a new layer of complexity to their mission. Later that night, Kendra returned to her home. Her mind still reeling from the revelations, she sat on her porch, the cool night air a brief respite from the intensity of her thoughts. The serene ambiance was a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within her. Taking a moment to collect herself, she reached for her phone to check for any updates. A new message from Malik awaited. "Urgent, Darius has been spotted at the Iron Tank Tavern, we need to move now." Without a second thought, Kendra sprang into action. She knew that confronting Darius directly was dangerous, but the urgency of the situation left her with no choice. She grabbed her coat, ensuring her phone and the USB drive were securely in her bag, and made her way to the designated meeting point with Malik and the team. As she approached Metropulse headquarters, the familiar building now seemed like the epicenter of a storm she had never anticipated. Inside, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation and fear. Kendra joined Malik and the team in a secure vehicle, their faces set with determination. The drive to the Iron Tank Tavern was tense, the streets illuminated by the harsh glow of streetlights. Kendra's thoughts raced through the possible scenarios: how Darius might react, the potential for violence, and the possibility of betrayal within their own ranks. She glanced at Mitchell, whose hesitant demeanor had been replaced by a steely resolve. Their journey was no longer just about preventing a single act of violence, but dismantling a network of hate and corruption. Upon arriving at the Iron Tank Tavern, the team sprang into action. Malik coordinated the deployment of officers to secure the perimeter, while Kendra took a moment to steady herself, drawing strength from her commitment to justice. The tavern stood in a desolate part of town, its dilapidated facade a stark reminder of the hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface. As they approached the entrance, the sounds of raucous laughter and clinking glasses emanated from within. Darius and his group were already inside, their presence exuding a sense of control and menace. Kendra felt a chill run down her spine, the air thick with impending confrontation. "Remember, stay calm and follow the plan," Malik instructed, his voice steady. "We need to minimize casualties and apprehend them without escalation." Kendra nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew the risks, but her resolve was unshaken. The moment had come to confront the darkness head-on, to stand up against the injustices that threatened her community and her very existence. As they entered the tavern, the atmosphere shifted instantly. The dim lighting and smoky air created an oppressive environment. The tension almost tangible. Darius was at the center of the room, surrounded by his associates, their eyes darting towards the newcomers with a mix of recognition and animosity. "Kendra Martinez," Darius drawled, a mocking smile playing on his lips. "What a surprise, didn't think you'd show up." Kendra met his gaze with unwavering determination. "This ends tonight, Darius. No more hiding behind your facade of respectability." Darius laughed, the sound harsh and unyielding. "Respectability? Don't make me laugh. You think you can waltz in here and stop us? We're not afraid of you." Malik stepped forward, his hand resting on his holstered weapon. "Darius, this is your last chance. Surrender peacefully, and we can avoid unnecessary violence." Darius's smirk faltered slightly, the bravado in his eyes giving way to a flicker of uncertainty. "You think you have the upper hand, huh? We've got allies everywhere. People who support our cause." Kendra felt the weight of his words, the realization that their fight was more deeply entrenched than she had initially thought. But her resolve remained unshaken. "We have the truth on our side. Your lies and hate have no place in our community." Suddenly, a commotion erupted from the back of the tavern. A group of officers entered, their movements coordinated and precise, surrounding Darius and his associates. But before the situation could escalate, Officer Daniels approached Kendra, his face stern and conflicted. "Kendra, we need to talk," he said, his voice low. "There are things you don't know about the situation here." Kendra's eyes narrowed, sensing the underlying tension. "What are you talking about, Daniels? We're in the middle of apprehending these men." Officer Daniels hesitated, glancing around the room before leaning in closer. "There are higher-ups involved. Kendra, Darius has connections within the department. If we move against him now, it could compromise everything we've worked for." Kendra felt a surge of anger and betrayal. "You've been working with them all along." Before Daniels could respond, the room plunged into chaos. Gunshots rang out, shattering the tense atmosphere. Screams echoed as patrons scrambled for cover, the once controlled environment now descending into pandemonium. Kendra's heart raced as she took in the unfolding violence, realizing that the stakes had been raised to a life-or-death level. Malik shouted orders, trying to regain control amidst the chaos. "Protect the hostages! Secure the perimeter!" Kendra felt a sudden push from behind, the world spinning as she struggled to maintain her balance. She turned to see Daniels advancing towards her, a gun drawn and a sinister expression etched on his face. "Stay back, Kendra," he warned, his voice cold and devoid of the respect they once shared. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Kendra took a step back, her mind racing. "Daniels, what are you doing? Why are you—" Before she could finish, Daniels fired, the bullet grazing her shoulder. Pain surged through her arm, but she refused to let it break her spirit. "You betrayed us," she whispered, her voice steady despite the agony. Determined to protect her community and expose the corruption, Kendra summoned her internal strength. She reached for her phone, intent on calling for backup, but the chaos around her made it impossible. Blood trickled down her arm, and darkness threatened to overtake her vision, but her resolve remained unshaken. As she struggled to stay conscious, Kendra caught a glimpse of Malik fighting to subdue Darius, his determination matching her own. The room was a battlefield of betrayal and hate, the lines between ally and enemy blurred by greed and prejudice. Just as her strength began to wane, a surge of adrenaline propelled her forward. Ignoring the pain, Kendra lunged towards Daniels, her hand reaching out to disarm him. The two grappled, the struggle a physical manifestation of the internal conflict raging within her. With a final desperate effort, Kendra managed to overpower him, disarming Daniels and pinning him to the ground. "Stop this now, Daniels," she demanded, her voice fierce and unwavering. "For the sake of our community, you need to let go." As the situation teetered on the edge of catastrophe, the sound of additional officers arriving and the intervention of Metropulse's private security helped regain control. Darius and his associates were apprehended, but the damage had already been done. The revelation of Officer Daniels' betrayal sent shockwaves through the community, exposing the deep-seated corruption that had been festering beneath the surface. Kendra stood amidst the wreckage, her body aching, but her spirit unbroken. The night had tested her resilience and commitment, pushing her to the brink. Yet, Her determination to fight against injustice had prevailed, even in the face of personal betrayal and physical harm. As the dust settled, Kendra looked around at the aftermath. The realization that the battle was far from over-settling, in the systemic prejudices and biases that had nearly torn her community apart, were now exposed, laying the groundwork for a deeper, more profound fight for justice and equality. With Malik by her side and the truth now out in the open, Kendra knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on, driven by an unwavering commitment to protect her community and dismantle the forces of hate that sought to destroy it. The aftermath of the tavern confrontation left Kendra Martinez drained but resolute. As she steadied herself, the gravity of Officer Daniels's betrayal settled heavily on her shoulders. The realization that corruption had infiltrated the very institutions meant to uphold justice only intensified her determination to dismantle Darius Cole's network. She knew that the upcoming community summit was now a critical battleground, where the fate of her community and her own integrity would be tested. Back at Metro Pulse headquarters, the emergency meeting convened once more. Kendra entered the secure conference room, her presence commanding respect. Despite the recent chaos, Malik Turner was already there, along with Mitchell Hayes and Lisa Thompson. The room was filled with a palpable tension, the team acutely aware that time was running out. "Kendra, we've made some progress," Malik began, his tone urgent. Mitchell's analysis of the communications revealed a detailed plan for the summit. They intend to create a diversion using the security system, then unleash chaos to draw out key community leaders and disrupt the event. Kendra nodded, her mind racing through the implications. "We need to neutralize their plan before it unfolds. What's our current strategy?" Mitchell stepped forward, his fingers deftly navigating the data on his tablet. "We've identified the key points of their operation. The diversion will involve hacking into the venue's security network, causing widespread outages and confusion. Once the systems are down, they'll move in to execute their agenda." Lisa leaned in, her expression serious. "We need to secure the network from within and ensure that our own security team is prepared for immediate response. Additionally, we should coordinate with local law enforcement to have a rapid deployment team on standby." Kendra felt a surge of determination. "Let's implement these measures immediately, Malik. Work with your team to secure the network, Mitchell. Continue monitoring their communications for any changes or new information, Lisa. Ensure our security protocols are tightened and brief the team on the potential threats." As the meeting progressed, the urgency of their mission became increasingly clear. The systemic prejudices and biases they were fighting against were not just external threats, but were now intertwined with internal corruption that threatened to undermine their efforts from within. Kendra knew that stopping Darius required not only tactical precision, but also uncovering and eliminating the corruption that gave him leverage. Later that evening, Kendra sat alone in her study, the soft glow of the desk lamp illuminating the array of documents spread before her. She reviewed the latest intelligence reports, her mind meticulously piecing together the intricate web of Darius's operations. The intercepted communications had provided a roadmap, but the presence of corrupt officials like Daniels meant that every step forward was fraught with potential setbacks. Her phone buzzed with another message from Malik. "We have a potential lead on one of Darius's key operatives. Meet me at the precinct immediately." Without hesitation, Kendra grabbed her coat and headed out, her mind focused on the task at hand. The streets of Willow Creek were quieter now, the city enveloped in the calm of the night, yet beneath the surface, the storm was gathering strength. Arriving at the precinct, she was greeted by Malik, his face etched with concern. "Kendra, we've tracked down one of their operatives, someone named Ronald Ron Davis. He's been involved in the planning stages of their operations and might have crucial information about their next moves." Kendra nodded, her resolve unwavering. "Good work, Malik. Let's bring him in for questioning. If we can get him to talk, it could provide the leverage we need to take down Darius once and for all." As they made their way to the interrogation room, Kendra felt a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Each step forward was a step deeper into the heart of the corruption they were fighting against. Ronald Davis was a small cog in the larger machinery, but extracting information from him could be the key to dismantling Darius's network. Entering the interrogation room, they found Ron sitting at the table, his hands nervously fidgeting with a pen. His eyes darted between Kendra and Malik, a flicker of fear evident in his gaze. "Mr. Davis," Kendra began, her voice calm yet authoritative. "We need to talk about your involvement with Darius Cole and his associates." Ron swallowed hard, his composure wavering. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a low-level employee." Malik leaned forward, his tone firm. "We have evidence linking you to the planning stages of their operations. It's in your best interest to cooperate." Kendra stepped closer, her eyes never leaving Ron's. "Ron, we're not here to punish you. We want to understand the full extent of Darius's network, so we can put an end to this. Your cooperation could help save lives and restore peace to our community." Ron's defenses began to crumble, the weight of the situation bearing down on him. All right, he muttered, his voice shaky. "Darius has been pushing me to handle the logistics for the summit disruption. He's been meeting with his team at the Iron Tank Tavern, discussing how to hack the security systems and create chaos during the event." Kendra felt a surge of urgency. "How many people are involved, and what exactly is their plan?" Ron hesitated, then continued. "There are 5 of them: Darius, Ethan Brooks, Victor Lane, and 2 others, Jake Monroe and Samuel Sam Peters. They've been planning to disable the security cameras and alarms, then flood the venue with smoke to create confusion. Their goal is to instigate violence and target specific community leaders to send a message of dominance and fear." Malik took notes rapidly, his mind working to piece together the information. "Do you know where they're planning to gather before the summit? Any specific timelines?" Ron nodded, his eyes pleading for leniency. "They usually meet at Darius's house on Elm Street 3 days before the summit. I've heard them talking about finalizing the plans and assigning roles for the execution." Kendra leaned back, her mind racing. "Thank you, Ron. Your cooperation is appreciated. We'll make sure you're protected for your assistance." As they left the precinct, the gravity of the situation settled in. The summit was in just 3 days, and the threat of Darius's group loomed larger than ever. Kendra knew that time was running out, and every second counted in preventing the impending disaster. Back at Metropulse, Kendra convened an urgent strategy session with her team. The discovery of Jake Monroe and Sam Peters, along with the detailed plan for the summit disruption, heightened the stakes to their peak. "We have 3 days to act," Kendra stated, her voice steady, but laced with urgency. "We need to secure all potential entry points for Darius and his team, enhance our security protocols, and ensure that law enforcement is fully prepared to handle any situation that arises during the summit." Mitchell chimed in, his analytical mind already working on solutions. "I can work on intercepting their communications and disrupt any further planning. We need to stay one step ahead." Lisa nodded, her focus unwavering. "I'll coordinate with our security team to implement the necessary measures. We should also consider setting up additional surveillance to monitor any suspicious activities." Kendra felt a surge of determination. "Additionally, we need to leverage our community connections to ensure that everyone is aware and prepared. The more support we have, the harder it will be for them to succeed." As the team delved into the logistics, Kendra's phone buzzed with another message from Malik. "Urgent. Darius is aware of our movements. He's planning a direct confrontation at the summit. We need backup immediately." Kendra's heart raced as she read the message. "He knows we're on to him. This changes everything. We need to secure the summit and prepare for a possible showdown." Mitchell's eyes widened. "This is it. The climax of their plan. We need to ensure that no one gets hurt and that Darius and his team are apprehended without further escalation." Kendra took a deep breath, her internal struggle between anger and composure intensifying. "We can't afford to lose control now. Let's finalize our strategies and ensure that everyone is on the same page. This is our moment to stand up against hate and corruption." As the team worked tirelessly to implement the final measures, the tension in Willow Creek reached its zenith. The impending summit was not just an event, but a battleground where the fight against systemic prejudice and organized hate would come to a head. Kendra's internal strength was palpable, her unwavering resolve driving her to navigate the complex web of challenges that lay ahead. That evening, Kendra stood alone on her porch, the cool night air a brief respite from the relentless pressure. She gazed out over the city, the lights twinkling like distant stars against the darkened skyline. The upcoming summit was not just a professional obligation, but a personal mission to protect her community and dismantle the forces of hate that sought to undermine it. Her phone buzzed again with a call from Malik. "Kendra, we have a situation. Darius and his team have infiltrated the summit venue. They're causing chaos and targeting specific individuals. We need to move now." Without hesitation, Kendra grabbed her coat and headed out, her mind focused and her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. As she arrived at the venue, the scene was one of utter chaos. Smoke machines malfunctioned, filling the air with dense, suffocating fog. Screams and shouts echoed through the hallways as people scrambled for safety. Malik and his team were already on the scene, coordinating with law enforcement to contain the situation. Kendra moved swiftly, her presence commanding authority as she navigated through the tumultuous environment. She caught sight of Darius, his face contorted with rage as he orchestrated the chaos, his eyes locking onto hers with a mixture of defiance and desperation. "Kendra!" Darius shouted over the din, his voice filled with venom. "You think you can stop us? You think you can save them?" Kendra met his gaze, her voice calm yet firm. "This ends now, Darius. Your reign of terror stops here." Darius's laughter was hollow, his eyes blazing with anger. "You don't understand the power you're challenging. We have allies, connections that can't be broken." Before Kendra could respond, Officer Daniels emerged from the shadows, his weapon drawn and his expression twisted with malice. "This is your last chance, Kendra. Step aside or face the consequences." Kendra felt the familiar surge of internal conflict, anger bubbling beneath her composed exterior. But she knew that losing her cool would only give Darius and his team the upper hand. Instead, she drew upon her inner strength, her determination unwavering. "Daniels, this is the end of the line for you," she declared, her voice steady. "No more corruption, no more hate. We're taking you down together." Daniels sneered, his grip on the weapon tightening. "You think you can just take us down? You have no idea what you're dealing with." Before he could make his move, the sound of sirens filled the air, and backup officers swarmed the venue, their presence overwhelming. Malik and his team moved in, engaging Daniels and his remaining allies in a fierce confrontation. The room became a battleground, the lines between ally and enemy blurred by the intense conflict. As the firefight raged, Kendra moved towards Darius, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She knew that capturing him was crucial to dismantling his network and ensuring the safety of her community. "Darius, surrender now," she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. "It's over." Darius glared at her, his eyes filled with a mix of hatred and desperation. "You won't win, Kendra. This is just the beginning." Before she could respond, a gunshot rang out, and the world seemed to slow. Kendra felt a sharp pain in her shoulder, the bullet grazing her flesh. Pain surged through her, but she refused to let it weaken her resolve. Summoning every ounce of strength, she lunged towards Darius, her determination overriding the agony. As she reached him, their eyes locked in a final, intense confrontation. The room seemed to hold its breath, the outcome of their struggle hanging in the balance.